No, he's gone. I can't find him. If you know anything, please come and bring my son back. Please, I'm begging you.
Welcome back to Crawlspace and Missing. For this special report, you just heard a clip from KTLA in Los Angeles about the mysterious and sudden disappearance of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro from Yucaipa, California. And that was Emmanuel's mother, Rebecca, describing her account of what happened.
And before we continue, if anyone has any information on Emmanuel, please call 911 or the Sheriff's Dispatch at 909-387-8313.
We are going to break quick here for commercial, and we'll be right back. So on Thursday, August 14th, 2025, at around 7:47 p.m. Pacific time, the San Bernardino County's Sheriff's Department responded to reports of a kidnapping. And once they arrived at this parking lot, I believe it's a Big Lots store, once they arrived, they spoke with Rebecca Haro, who is the missing child Emmanuel Haro's mom. And Rebecca allegedly told police that she was attacked and her baby was kidnapped. And the police noticed the black eye that Rebecca has right away. And there was no security footage found in the parking lot, unfortunately.
And an Amber Alert wasn't issued in this case, as no descriptions of the suspect or the vehicle were provided by Rebecca.
Right, because a lot of people were asking, was there an Amber Alert issued? And this case actually doesn't meet the criteria for an Amber Alert because there's no suspect information and no vehicle information. So Rebecca was not able to provide that information to the authorities. And People Magazine has been covering this story pretty well, and they have reported that Rebecca visited a local park for her son's football practice with her husband and her 2 other children before driving to the Big 5 sporting goods store on Yucaipa Boulevard to pick up a mouth guard for her son for the football practice. And Rebecca reported that Emmanuel needed his diaper changed, and so she laid him down in the car to change him.
Okay, so we're putting her at one of her son's football practice at a local park. He needs a mouth guard, so she leaves with Emmanuel to go to this Big 5 sporting goods store to get him a mouth guard for the football practice, and that's when she gets attacked and Emmanuel is abducted. Everybody else is back at the field with the other son.
Right.
Okay.
And Rebecca claims that she heard the word hola, and she doesn't remember anything else.
I came over here, I parked right here in this edge. When I was coming over here, I smelled the baby went to the restroom. It's like, okay, Papa, don't worry, we're gonna change you. And I laid him down and so I could get his diapers ready. And somebody said, hola, and that's all I remember. And I saw white. And in hearing sound, I fell on the floor. And I said, as I got up, I couldn't find my son. I checked around my truck.
She heard hola and then basically woke up on the ground. And she says the floor, and walked around her car and looking for Emmanuel and did not find him.
It's really incredible to me that there's no security footage here in this parking lot anywhere that would see even a car speeding away, unless a car didn't speed away, unless they knocked her out so completely that they didn't need to leave in a hurry. You know what I'm saying? If she was completely unconscious, they can take their time leaving and not raise any eyebrows. But I would like to think that law enforcement is going through as many CCTV or Ring cameras that they can get their hands on in the vicinity just to see if there's anything happening here. Somebody driving erratically, anything. Someone going into a gas station with a child.
You know, they have probably been looking for some of that evidence, but on Saturday, just a couple of days ago as we're recording this, on Saturday, August 16th, police released a statement alleging inconsistencies in Emmanuel's mother, Rebecca's, statements. And when she was confronted with those inconsistencies, she declined to continue the interview.
That's an interesting detail there. We did mention that this didn't meet the criteria of an Amber Alert. I just want to go through one or two bullet points of what the criteria is according to amberalert.ojp.gov. There needs to be a reasonable belief by law enforcement that an abduction has occurred. That's one bullet point. Another one, the law enforcement agency believes that the child is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death. Another one, there is enough descriptive information about the victim and the abduction for law enforcement to issue an Amber Alert to assist in the recovery of the child. So the other bullet points are whether their name is in some sort of child abduction database or NCIC, the National Crime Information Center, and the child has to be under 17 years old. So I think that criteria is summed up in that third point, that there's enough descriptive information. Because obviously the kid's in imminent danger.
Well, what would they issue the Amber Alert for? I mean, they don't know they don't have a description of the vehicle. So they have nothing to go on for an Amber Alert.
Right.
So the sheriff's department, they did say that they cannot rule out the possibility of foul play. So at this point, over the weekend, seems like the public sentiment in Yucaipa is sort of going from support of the parents to a little bit of suspicion, I think.
I mean, naturally, suspicion is always cast on the parents, but as we continue to talk about this a little bit more, I feel like this is legitimate concern.
And authorities searched the Haro's property with cadaver dogs on Saturday. Apparently did not find anything because here we are on Monday without any announcement or anything like that.
Whoever took my son, please return him. We just want him back. We won't do anything to you. We just give us our son. Just keep him safe. Don't hurt him. Make sure you feed him, change him.
And then KTLA released an article on August 17th about Jake Haro. So that is Emmanuel's dad and Rebecca's husband, Jake. And he has a previous felony conviction for child cruelty from June of 2023, which stemmed from a 2018 arrest. And Jake had been sentenced to 180 days in jail and 48 months of probation. So that was kind of a bombshell that came out just yesterday.
There's no detail here about what the child cruelty was, right?
I didn't see it, no.
I don't think that they're supposed to release those types of details with minors being part of the story. But 180 days and 48 months of probation seems significant.
Yeah, had to be pretty serious. And obviously this is before Emmanuel was born, so this must be, I'm assuming, one of his other sons.
Oh my God, yeah, you're right.
If that was abuse or cruel treatment of one of his children, they would have been younger. You know, they would have been, 6-7 years younger than they are now. And a candlelight vigil was held last night on Sunday night, August 17th, 2025. But as ABC7 out of Los Angeles reports, the community came together, but it wasn't in support of Emmanuel's parents.
God Almighty, we pray in this moment.
Dozens showed up for a vigil, praying for the infant's safe return.
I got a baby at home. I'm going to go home and hug when I get home. Extra tighter, because it's just, that baby's innocent.
Those who showed up to this candlelight vigil focusing on the baby boy and not the growing rumors around town about what might have happened to him.
We could be the voice that he's not here to have, and we can speak and be supportive for him.
They'll find out, and it'll be soon, I'm sure, and everybody will have their answer, and we're hoping that it's not what we all assume, but we have to wait.
And this is a bit of a significant moment in this story. Officials with the Uvalde Foundation for Kids, they were offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of Emmanuel. This is according to the Register, but they called off their independent search less than a day after announcing the effort.
And there's a quote from the foundation's father, Daniel Chapin. He says, "We cannot in good conscience utilize our team and resources when so much is missing in this case. Of particular concern to us lies within the inconsistencies in the details and the sudden decision by the mother to end communication with law enforcement and our team. Something is not right with this whole picture."
And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program.
Now, this is interesting, Lance, in that we've covered some cases of missing children, of murdered children, oftentimes and immediately the public points fingers at the parents. Some cases that's, in my opinion, not necessary, as we've covered some, and some recently, actually. Now here, I just don't know. There's really not a lot here to go on. It does seem like Rebecca's black eye is, evidence here, evidence of either her telling the truth and being hit by some random person, and then her 7-month-old Emmanuel taken from her right there. So, I mean, she has a black eye. That's a legitimate injury, happened somehow, whether in that parking lot or not. It's a real black eye.
Yeah.
So she was likely in some way victimized here. And if Emmanuel was taken and she's telling the whole truth about this story, I can't imagine how torturous this moment must be for her, especially now that public sentiment is kind of shifted against her and her husband to some degree.
I mean, I wish I could say that I understand why she would and why the father would end communication with the media. I can understand that. I wish I could say why they would end communication with law enforcement and stop working with law enforcement. I have no idea, and I'm not them. I'm not in their situation, but after telling these stories and looking at these cases for so long, you start to see a pattern with persons of interest who stop speaking with law enforcement. The people who want the conclusion will be so aggressive with law enforcement. And we just had like multiple conversations with people over the past few weeks who were talking about their experience with law enforcement and how they just never stop, and they never stop calling. They always want meetings. They always want to know updates. And 99% of them say, yeah, I'm just a big pain in the ass to law enforcement. This hasn't even been a week. It's been 4 days. This is just barely 4 days old. This child is 7 months old. Why are you ending the conversation and your cooperation with law enforcement?
Yeah, it's a great point. It doesn't seem like the police have any evidence against them at this point, except for what they're calling inconsistencies in her stories. And again, if it's true what happened, that might make sense why there's some inconsistencies, because it's not like she got knocked out in the parking lot. At least that's her account, right?
Right.
So she might not remember a lot if that account is true. So there could be some natural inconsistencies there, but this doesn't seem like what the police is talking about. It seems like they're putting out this information quite intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have to start piecing together as an investigator what actually happened when you've lost the cooperation of the parents. So that's putting them behind a little bit. They are probably ratcheting up their observation of the couple, of the parents here, to see if they're going to make any wrong moves, if they're going to lead them to anything. But I'm super curious to know what the inconsistencies are. Maybe the inconsistencies are just like there's no detail.
Well, let me read here from the police's official statement. So they say on Thursday, August 14th at 7:47, deputies in Yucaipa were dispatched to a retail business after Rebecca Haro reported that while she stood outside her vehicle changing her child's diaper, she was physically assaulted by an unknown male and rendered unconscious. When she awoke, her 7-month-old infant, Emmanuel Haro, was gone. Deputies and canine units from San Bernardino and Riverside counties responded and began an exhaustive search. Emmanuel was not located. Based on the circumstances, Sheriff's Specialized Investigations Division responded and assisted with the investigation. Investigators interviewed multiple individuals, including Emmanuel's parents, Jake and Rebecca Haro. During those interviews, Rebecca was confronted with inconsistencies in her initial statement and declined to continue the interview. At this point in the investigation, investigators are unable to rule out foul play in the disappearance of Emmanuel. and investigators will continue their investigation to locate Emmanuel. And at the end of this statement, the police, instead of giving the number that we gave at the beginning of the show, they actually have updated that. And they said, anyone with information regarding this incident is urged to contact the Specialized Investigations Division at 909-890-4904. And callers wishing to remain anonymous should contact we-tip at 1-800-78-CRIME or go to wetip.com. And so that's now different. It's now moved to the Specialized Investigations Division, Lance, inside the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department.
And a Specialized Investigation Division is a law enforcement or investigative body that will focus on certain types of crimes. So some of those would be, for example, financial crimes or cyber crimes. But in this case, we'd be looking at a domestic violence abuse crime, sexual assault on a child crime. That would be what the specialized part for this one is, I imagine, because it doesn't seem to fall into the other categories.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thanks for that. And I do have to say that domestic abuse is something that definitely seemed like a possibility here. And again, Rebecca's got that black eye. We're not exactly sure when that black eye happened. I'm not an expert in black eyes, but in the interview taken on the 15th of August, she claimed she received that injury the day previous on the 14th. Kind of looks like a little bit more than 24 hours has gone by to me. But again, I'm no expert in black eyes. But I guess long way of saying the domestic violence angle here that this specialized division is taking, this could be barking up the right tree.
I feel like it's going in that direction just based on conversations we've had before. And you're right, with this black eye, it kind of does throw the timeline off a little bit. I'm wondering if that was part of the inconsistent statements that she made, if they had somebody looking at her black eyes and saying, well, if you're struck, and again, I'm not an expert on black eyes either, but I've had a couple of black eyes in my life. And if you're struck on like the bridge of your nose, both eyes will start to get black after a certain period of time. I don't know if it's 24 hours or what, but it does look like one of her eyes, I think it's her right eye, has a little bit of black, but it's her left eye that is significantly, has more of that black eye rendering there. Could that have happened less than 24 hours before that picture was taken?
See, I'm not sure what Rebecca looks like in general, but it does seem like she's got dark circles under her eyes. Maybe that's just from searching and lack of sleep. She clearly has a black and blue under one of her eyes. It is possible that she's got remnants of a black eye from under her other eye too. I can't tell, but that could be indicative of having been hit in the nose.
Yeah, but there's no mark on her nose. Doesn't seem to be any mark on her nose, any sort of redness or like a cut or anything. And if that was the case, I would imagine the scenario going down where she hears the voice behind her. It didn't strike me as being reasonable to think that she turned around and she was punched in the face, because then she would have maybe seen something. I feel like given her account where she doesn't remember anything, I feel like she heard it and somebody would have grabbed the back of her head and hit her head on something and knocked her out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if this is a real kidnapping from some random person, like who knows what that person, would have done or why they would want to kidnap Emmanuel or any of that, and, again, if it happened, like she said, maybe she would have a bump on the back of her head too, or another bump somewhere on her head. Right, if she hit the ground unconscious, she may have another bruise somewhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if these points are what the police are asking them about and potentially filing as inconsistencies. I just don't know, but lack of cooperation is sort of ringing some alarm bells now.
Yeah. Also, with the investigation, is it just the parents who are not cooperating? I wonder if, again, we don't know how old the other children are. So maybe Maybe they're under the supervision of the parents and they're being told not to cooperate either. But if the story's true, I'm assuming everybody saw her and Emmanuel when she went to the field for the football practice. Or she gets out of the car, or maybe she doesn't even get out of the car. Maybe somebody runs over and says he needs a mouth guard. You need to go grab one. But there are other witnesses there. Was she there with Emmanuel at that time? Was he with her at that time?
Great questions. Yeah, we don't have that that information here right now. I would bet that this case is going to change very quickly, and I'd be willing to bet some of that information is probably out later this week.
Yeah, and it better change for the good. Because think back to what you were doing 7 months ago. Like February. This kid, this is a 7-month-old child. He hasn't even seen a full cycle of seasons. This is something that needs to be. I hope we do one more report on this and he's found and people are put to justice here, or there's some reasonable answer here. I don't know, but gives you a bad feeling when it all sort of plays out like this so fast.
Yeah, it sure does. And we just want to give out the domestic violence hotline as well. It is 1-800-799-7233. And you can chat on thehotline.org if you need to. Thanks a lot for listening, everyone. We will be back with an update at some point.